Food is a funny thing. From healthy recipes to epic cheats, for such a simple need, it can feel confusing. When I first started my fitness journey, as much as I knew my body was unique and this should guide what I eat, I couldn't help but wonder, how could some people stay lean eating so much more than me? It felt like they could eat more calories, more sweets, and do more cheats without missing a beat.
What's up? Hey, a few years back, I lost 20 pounds of stubborn fat. What you don't see is that this wasn't the start of my fitness journey. I've gained weight, lost weight, been lean, and pretty much everywhere in between. Along the way, I've learned enough about metabolism to know that nothing is magic, and things often aren't as they seem, at least as you see them online. So today, we're going to talk about metabolism, explaining the role of calories, how many you need, as well as how this may vary between you and me. Before we get into it, I want to say a huge thank you to C Daily Symbiotic for partnering with me on today's video. The Daily Symbiotic combines prebiotics with probiotics. Think of it as a 2-in-1 where probiotics bring the good gut bacteria and prebiotics help fuel those bacteria. We'll talk more about how your bacterial balance affects metabolism later on in this video, but for now, if you'd like to grab some seed for yourself, I'll put a link in the description box down below with a code to save 15% off your first month's supply. First things first, the calorie is a unit of energy. There are many units of energy, just as you could measure a distance in miles or yards. The most common way to measure a person's height is in inches and feet. The calorie is just the most common unit for describing the energy from food, where metabolism describes the process your body uses to convert that energy from food into a form that your body can use. Now, while the calorie is technically a unit of energy, decades of research have proven that energy balance is the primary determinant in long-term changes in body weight. Enter the energy balance equation. This equation describes the relationship between the calories you consume and the calories you burn. Burn more calories than you consume and you'll lose weight. Burn less calories than you consume and you'll gain weight. Burn the same number of calories as you consume and you'll maintain weight. This is what I mean when I say energy balance is the primary determinant of long-term changes in body weight. For the purpose of today's video, we'll be focused on the energy or calories outside of this equation and how it varies from person to person. So breaking this down, the energy outside of the equation can be broken down into four main parts. RMR, resting metabolic rate, the calories your body burns just sitting, breathing, and existing. TEF, thermic effect of food, the calories your body burns breaking down and digesting food. TEA, thermic effect of activity, the calories your body burns through intentional activity, think your workouts. And NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, the calories your body burns through spontaneous, unintentional activity, stuff you do as part of your everyday life. There are many factors that affect the relative contributions of each of these components of metabolism, and there are actually quite a few things that you can do to naturally boost your metabolism as part of this. But for the purpose of today's video, we're going to be focusing on inter-individual differences, aka regardless of personal choice, how your metabolism may still vary as compared to someone else's, so that hopefully by the end of this video, we can answer why, if you follow the same diet, the same workouts as someone else, why you may still get different results. Starting with resting metabolic rate, a 2004 research review determined that the standard deviation of variance for RMR was 5 to 8%. Extending this to standard deviations, 95%, were within 10 to 16% of the population average. Quick math, assuming an average RMR of 1,500 calories per day, 68% of the population would fall into the 1,380 to 1,620 calories per day range, while 95% of the population would fall into the 1,260 to 1,740 calories per day range. What this means is that about half the population's natural resting metabolic rate would be within about a 250 calorie range of each other. So examples of what 250 calories could look like would be 2.5 tablespoons of peanut butter, 1 chocolate bar, 1 bagel. Of course, there will always be extremes, and the extremes of this curve could be explained by genetic outliers, differences in lean muscle mass, hormonal imbalances, a condition that needs to be addressed by a medical professional. There will always be extremes. We'll come back to lean muscle mass later in this video. Moving on to the thermic effect of food. Fair warning, this is a big one. The same 2004 research review found that the standard deviation of variance for TEF was 20%. This seems like a huge variation as compared to resting metabolic rate, but is it really that significant in the scheme of things? Quick math, let's say the average person consumes 2,000 calories per day. Research shows that TEF accounts for about 10% of the caloric intake of healthy adults. So let's say the average TEF in this case is 200 calories. 68% of the population would fall into the 160 to 240 calorie range, while 95% of the population would fall into the 120 to 280 calorie range. range. While TEF contributes less to energy out as compared to RMR, the variation within it is quite a bit larger. So why is that? Well, we know that TEF is directly proportional to the caloric intake of what you eat. That makes enough sense. More food will require more energy to digest, but it is also influenced by the type of food you eat and how you eat it. Starting with nutrient composition, there are three main macronutrients: protein, carbs, and fats, and TEF can be expressed as a percentage of the energy content of each of those macronutrients. Where fats provide 9 calories per gram and its TEF is 0 to 3%, carbs provide 4 calories per gram and its TEF is 5 to 10%, and protein provides 4 calories per gram where its TEF is 20 to 30%. So think of that percentage as the percent of calories from that nutrient that are not absorbed, but are rather used in breaking down and digesting that food. That's not exactly how it works, but it's a simpler way of thinking of it. Beyond this, research has shown that meals higher in fiber may increase TEF, whereas meals containing more refined or processed foods may decrease TEF. This may in part explain the range of percentages provided for each macronutrient's TEF, as well as why high protein and high fiber diets are often recommended for weight loss, as both protein and fiber increase TEF. Another factor affecting TEF is meal frequency. A common claim is that you should eat several smaller meals throughout the day to keep your metabolism revving, making it easier to lose fat faster. While habits like these may make it easier for you to manage hunger, thereby making it easier to stick to the calorie deficit needed to lose weight, the reality is that TEF is proportional to caloric intake. A single larger meal will have a larger TEF than a single smaller meal. If you were to consume the same foods in the same amounts, either as part of one big meal or broken down into several smaller meals, the TEF would add up to the same amount. Beyond this, another area of research that's gaining in popularity is the connection between your gut health and metabolism. In case you weren't aware, your body is home to a community of 38 trillion bacteria. There are many strains of bacteria. Some are beneficial, some are harmful, others we haven't studied fully. But like your genetic makeup, your microbiome or bacterial balance is unique to you, and it is changing constantly. Your bacterial balance can be affected by your diet, exercise, sleep, lifestyle habits, environment, and the list goes on. While there are many questions that have yet to be answered, what we do know is that people with obesity tend to have less diverse gut bacteria than lean individuals, and when comparing within groups of people with obesity, those with less diverse gut bacteria tend to gain more weight. There are several proposed mechanisms for this, as your bacterial balance affects everything from carbohydrate digestion to fat metabolism and energy storage. I'll link in the description box down below a research review that describes these in extreme detail. For now, what's clear is that a diverse gut is a better functioning gut, and this in turn can help your metabolism do its job better. One way of restoring diversity to your gut is through the use of prebiotics, probiotics, or a combination of the two. I recommend the Seed Daily Symbiotic, as it's a 2-in-1 that combines prebiotics and probiotics in a single serving. The outer capsule contains prebiotics. Think of prebiotics as food for your gut. When bacteria break down prebiotic fiber, they produce short-chain fatty acids, which have been associated with a decrease in energy intake. So not only are you fueling the good bacteria in your gut, but you're also help regulate your hunger and fullness cues. The inner capsule contains probiotics. Probiotics are bacteria that, when selected for the right strains and the right amounts, can help restore healthy diversity to your gut. Seed contains 24 scientifically and clinically studied strains designed for systemic health. As noted in that research review I mentioned earlier, many bacterial strains have been studied in animal trials, but there's room for more research in human clinical trials. That said, of the strains that have been studied in humans, Seed's formulation includes Lactobacillus rhamnosus, which has been associated with decreased weight gain during the initial few years of excessive weight gain in life, Lactobacillus reuteri, which has been linked to decreased dietary fat absorption, thereby resulting in less calories absorbed from food, and Lactobacillus plantarum, which has been linked to decreased body weight, BMI, and fat mass. Seed also includes several other strains you can learn more about on their website, but for now, if you want to check out Seed for yourself, I'll put a link in the description box down below to save 15% off your first month's supply. Moving to the thermic effect of activity. Exercise burns calories. We know this. The same 2004 review found that the standard deviation of variance for TEA was 1 to 2%. This means that if somebody burns on average 300 calories from exercise, the true value of that calorie burn could vary from 294 to 306 calories for 68% of the population, or 288 to 312 calories for 95% of the population. Even at the extremes, this isn't a huge variation. However, where this relationship breaks down is when the exercise you're doing either results in an increase in lean muscle mass and or is at a high enough intensity to result in EPOC, or the afterburn effect, as both of these will increase your resting metabolic rate in the recovery period following your workout. Of course, there's many ways to work out, but in general, cardio-based activities that are done at a low to moderate intensity will burn most of their calories within the workout session, whereas activities that involve resistance training or higher intensity training, those will burn calories both during the workout as well as in the recovery period following by increasing your resting metabolic rate. So the main takeaways from this should be that even if 2 people burn 300 calories from exercise, depending on the type and intensity of that exercise, the total number of calories that they burn as a result of that exercise may be different due to the afterburn effect. The second thing to take into consideration is even if 2 people are lifting weights and they burn the same number of calories from that weightlifting session, assuming your goal is to build muscle, workout quality cannot be measured in calories. Calorie burn does not stimulate muscle growth. Muscle growth is affected by a whole host of factors. It would be difficult to replicate exactly between individuals. So what you need to know is that following a very tough workout session, you've really beat your muscles up, your RMR is going to be elevated in the short term to repair that muscle tissue. Beyond that, if over time you continue lifting weights, you continue working to add more lean muscle mass to your body, that takes more energy to maintain, so your RMR will be elevated longer term. If you're curious about the afterburn effect, how HIIT versus steady state cardio compare in terms of calorie burn effectiveness, all that jazz, don't worry, we have a more in-depth video coming. And finally, we have NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or the calories burned through unintentional activity. This is probably one of the most misunderstood components of metabolism. So if you're having trouble grasping it, this includes any movement that is done without it being for the express purpose of burning calories, being active, or working out. Think fidgeting, standing up, sitting down, cleaning your house, taking your dog for a walk. If you have a physical job, I'd even say many active hobbies could fit in here. What makes this tricky is that many of these activities overlap with what other people do intentionally. So to help me understand NEAT is thinking of it as the active lifestyle component of metabolism. If you currently live a sedentary lifestyle and you're working to become more active, sure, you may start by increasing your intentional activity, your TEA, but that's how any habit starts. You have to start by taking intentional daily action and repeating that action until it becomes mindless, it becomes effortless, it becomes something that you just do, you don't have to think about. In sedentary individuals, NEAT is responsible for 6 to 10% of energy out, while in highly active individuals, NEAT is responsible for 50% or more of energy out, making this the most variable and potentially most important component of metabolism. The most variance in NEAT are observed between different occupations, where PAL stands for physical activity level and is calculated by dividing energy out by resting metabolic rate. For example, say you have an RMR of 1500 calories and currently work a desk job where you're sitting at your computer for most of the day, but switch to standing or working at an adjustable desk. This change alone could increase your energy out by 600 calories. This is just one example of everyday activities you might not think twice about in your own life or even notice in someone else's life can impact calorie burn. So, how many calories do you need? Everyone's favorite answer, it depends, and it doesn't just depend on how you work out. Based on what we learned today, how you work out may be one of the least important considerations in determining your energy needs. There are many reasons why someone of the same age, height, or size may be able to eat more or less while maintaining their weight, and chances are it has less to do with the way they work out and more to do with their lifestyle as a whole. Something else to keep in mind is that most of the people you see online are outliers, whether they're genetic outliers, whether they're outliers in the amount of working out that they do if they're a professional athlete, like it's literally their job, or they might just be outliers in the fact that they live highly active lifestyles, and that's okay. There are many ways to measure metabolism, but assuming you don't have access to a highly controlled lab setting, the most readily available tools would be an activity tracker and calorie calculator. Activity trackers can help gauge daily activity levels and kind of estimate the calorie burn from exercise, which you can then take that information and plug it into a calorie calculator to potentially get a more accurate result. But important to keep in mind is that activity trackers are not always accurate, not to mention they can generally only estimate the energy that you are burning during exercise. So if you're lifting weights, if you're doing higher intensity exercise and you've got that afterburn effect going on, they probably won't do the best job of estimating that additional calorie burn. Regardless of which method you choose or if you choose to estimate your calories at all, the key word here is estimate, because you are estimating what will realistically be a moving target based on how your metabolism changes day to day. If you find numbers helpful, pick a calculator, put in as much information as you can confidently collect, and try it out. The energy balance equation will not fail. Just know that you may need to refine your inputs, you may need to refine your estimates estimates over time and be open to giving yourself some wiggle room if you're recovering after an especially hard workout or if you find yourself being more active in your everyday life. That is it for today's video. I hope you found this helpful. I know the "it depends" answer is no fun, but it is the truth, and it is the truth that will ultimately help you learn more about you, which is kind of the point of this whole thing. Again, a huge thank you to Seed for partnering with me on today's video. It's partnerships like these that allow me to take the time to fully research, write, assemble, and edit videos like this. So however you're able to support, whether it's just clicking the link in the description box down below, or if you want to try Seed for yourself, there will be a code to save 15% off your first month's supply. I appreciate it so much. It's what allows us to keep showing up like this, keep putting out these high quality videos. So however you're able to support, I really appreciate it. Otherwise, we have so much great content coming up as part of this Smart Girl series. I have had so much fun mapping out the videos, planning the videos. Like I said earlier on, we've got a more in-depth video coming on the afterburn effect, HIIT versus steady state cardio, and so much more that I'm just very excited about. So thank you for watching this video, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.